In post-credit scene, when Samuel L. Jackson shows up and recruits one of them for the Dinosaur
This is
Avengers.
New Game Plus mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a new threat, Spike.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is the retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name is Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Hey.
And this is episode 399. And
We're so close.
just around the corner is episode 400, our 8-year anniversary. We've got some very exciting things planned for that. Looking forward to speaking to a lot of you in the community. I know a lot of you are somewhat new. I was even looking at that list of call-ins. I think we only have 5 returning call-ins. Everyone else is new to the call-in experience.
Very good.
That's super fun
like it.
to hear from new folks.
Very excited to get around to that, but I thought a pertinent question for the week would allow some of the newcomers to get to know us a little bit better. We've, of course, talked about this question before, but it's good to come around to it every once in a while. So, question of the week, what was the game that first got you into gaming?
So, this answer, when I think about it over the years, it keeps changing because I'm like, wait, there was a game before that kind of triggered it, right? So, for me, it was actually Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES.
Solid.
Very
Great
solid.
game.
I didn't realize how solid.
That's why you're a platformer today, while
must
you
be.
like platforms. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
like top-tier platforming.
Yeah, that is pinnacle of that era, and I played it at my cousin's house. They were wealthier than we were, and had the NES in like every game, and so I was often left alone with that console and played that game, and fell in love with it. And so that was the first like aha moment of like, oh, I'm gonna spend a lot of time doing this in my life. And then, obviously it goes up from there, but that game's super special to me, and I don't revisit it often. I should, but yeah.
That's
SMB3.
a very solid answer. Kenny, what game or games? I know you struggle with a single answer.
Yeah, I will choose a game that moved me in that direction. I don't ever really remember a time that the games weren't at least around a little.
Gaming in the womb, baby.
Yeah, no, but like even as like a little, I remember playing, Super Mario and Duck Hunt and like those kind of things. I'm trying to think what like my first online gaming experience was, because I feel like the like competitive I get to do this socially is the thing that took it from like, oh, this is kind of fun to like, oh, this is like really neat. And I don't know what the answer is there, so I'll just pick a game from sort of the era of games getting more serious for me. Maybe Warcraft, one of those early real-time strategy games that were like classic Blizzard, that were just like next level, were they probably had some hooks that really got to me.
Which is great and all, but your answer just did devolve into a game I once played was Warcraft.
Well, yeah, because how else do you answer this? Do you want me to say Minesweeper? Do you want me to say...
I certainly don't want you to say Minesweeper.
Warcraft is a game I played.
All right, but Warcraft, hey, we'll take that. That is an N answer. I've got 2 answers. I'll give the obvious one that happened in middle school, and it was the moment where I went over to a friend's house, Logan, and he was playing a game
Shout out, Logan.
Unlike a game that I had ever seen before. It was Final Fantasy VII, and he allowed me to borrow the discs and the guide, and that changed the trajectory of my gaming life forever. But I was already into gaming before that, just not to the extent that Final Fantasy VII took me. And you guys know this. I don't talk about this one near as much as I talk about Final Fantasy VII, of course. In elementary school, Link to the Past.
Are you...
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were about to say putt-putt or something.
I kind of knew that about you, that game meant something to you.
Yeah, I remember having another really small, it was a much smaller manual or guide, but I would also have like graphing paper, and I would draw out the
You would have been that kid.
Oh, yeah, like
100%. I mean, you still are.
Yeah, absolutely. Both with manuals and with the guides and with like tracking stuff. But Link to the Past was an early game that when I was much younger, that I don't know. I don't think I owned it, so it was a rental. I don't even remember all the details there. But that was a game that started to build my budding love for video games.
Yeah.
I didn't come to Zelda until Ocarina of Time. Despite probably playing a lot more NES games than either.
It's really interesting.
Well, and you both know this, but Ocarina of Time was one of my more recent Zelda experiences.
I know, and you finally just played it now.
Right.
I love that.
And you can let us know what game first got you into gaming by going to our Discord, Kenny?
Yeah, Discord is the place to answer the question of the week. We'd love to hear your opinions, mostly about how wrong Dustin is. And
it's an opinion.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
You just threw me under the bus. I'm pulling you with
I'm
me.
wrong about the game that got me into gaming. If you know better about me, then let us know.
We do.
I probably do, but I'm wrong actually this week. I just made up an answer because I didn't want to.
Wait,
repeat
really?
Myself. No. I mean, it's a true answer, but we've answered this question other times in our lore and have said things that are probably more accurate. Regardless, join us in Discord. I'm going to quit talking now forever.
If you're nervous about downloading a new app and stepping into a new community and asking, can I even do it? Come on, step up to the plate and boldly proclaim, you bet Jurassic can.
That might be my favorite thing that we've done in 8 years.
Like in our retro game of the week, The Land Before Time, Return to the Great Valley.
Overview.
The Land Before Time, Return to the Great Valley. It's a children's game on the PlayStation 1. And it came out in 2000, developed by Sound Source Interactive and published by Vivendi Games. This is obviously based on the, at this time, guys, help me, movie only or show also?
It had been a bunch of stuff by now.
Right.
I don't know the timeline. I know that it started in 1988. Is that the first movie?
Actually,
the first movie was like late 80s.
And then,
so you were on the Land Before Time like 12 by now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know which one, but they made so many of them.
14.
And it really was like 90s heavy. So by the time you're talking late 90s, the plane is landing at this point.
Okay. So big franchise. Like a lot of people love the movie, at least around me growing up. My wife was one of them. I have never seen it. And I've never seen the show.
Breaks my heart.
I've never seen any of the Land Before Time content, so this is my first.
All you've got to do is watch the original movie.
I know.
That's it.
Right. And I had the opportunity. I don't know what I was on at the time. I just wasn't into dinosaurs, maybe. But
ooh, weird.
I know. They're definitely cool. But Great Valley is the 3D PlayStation game based on the series Land Before Time. And I mentioned that it's a child's game, so let me define the genre further than that. It's a platformer, and it's like a 3D platformer with like play-along story elements, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of something that kind of falls into that category where you're watching a lot of animations, almost like a cartoon. Like they made you guys don't know about this, but they made GBA games back in the day that were just cartoon episodes from your favorite show. So like a SpongeBob episode or two would be on a cartridge of GBA, and you put it in your GBA and watch it. And that reminded me of this game. Reminded me of that this week.
Real? That's an actual thing.
That's an actual thing that happened. A lot of Nickelodeon
I hate
stuff.
That.
Huh?
So much.
You hate that?
I hate that.
Why?
That's terrible.
Well, some people really like that, Kenny, so.
I just accidentally ruined your
No, it is bad. It's like terrible. I mean, it makes it look super pixelated and bad. Anyways, the plot of this game, and these are from the show, for sure. Littlefoot, Cera, and Ducky.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Spike are playing hide and seek, and they come across a cave and find an egg that don't belong to them. And at this time, you didn't just mess with eggs. I mean, there were dinosaurs
back in this time
20 times bigger than you
big
were.
Eggs.
I'm not touching an egg back then, I'm telling you. So they find an egg, and they go, hey, this shouldn't be here. We should return it to the Spikiosaurus spark-tooth nest.
To the sharp tooth.
And they're like, no, we should tell the adults. And so then they go on you follow 4 characters. You get to play all 4 of them through this story of returning a spark-tooth egg.
Close. They already returned the egg, and they are returning back to the Great Valley after.
Yeah, they got scattered by the T-Rex, the sharp tooth, and now they're all on their own and having to find their way.
Allow the Land Before Time professionals to step in here.
Yeah, let's
You assigned the first play to me. I mean,
listen. The Land Before Time. Yeah. It had a chokehold. That's probably not the best thing to say on a lot of kids. In my childhood, and there's a reason 14 of them were made. They're not making 14 and people aren't watching them. And
sure.
One of them, I believe, was actually in movie theaters, the first one, and then 13 of them were direct to video. But people were still, that was a thing then.
Direct to video meant something back then. Like there wasn't something to meme about until 2006.
It was not a pejorative. Whew. It was a positive thing. And what I learned and had completely blanked out of my mind, Kenny, do you remember this? The first one was a normal animated dinosaur movie for kids and adults, but it was good. Great. The other 13 are singing, they're animated singing, they're song movies. They're musicals.
I don't know if I remember that.
See, I thought you were experts.
I watched maybe the second or third one. I know I watched more than the first, but I don't recall music at all.
They're like dinosaurs have solos, and I did not remember that nor expect that. I think most people watched at least the first one. Most people, a lot of kids watched the first one, and then maybe the second or third, like Kenny just mentioned, and like that. That's my story too. And so
at the time, saying most people is probably fair. It was big. Big cultural hotness.
Pervasive.
Yeah.
It was a pejorative pervasive.
Do you remember Chomper, Kenny?
I don't know if I do.
Chomper,
sounds familiar.
I believe, was in the second one, the one that this is actually based off, and is the baby T-Rex that is kind of mean, bites a lot, but becomes their friend over time. It's wonderful.
Sir
it's
bites
wonderful.
A lot.
Oh yeah, he's Chomper. It's so good. So another thing that I have got to mention here is that I want us to start on the right foot, because this was a precious animated movie series that meant a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it was directed and produced by the legendary Don Bluth, who we know from Dragon's Lair, but also had a hand in Anastasia and The Secret of Nim and many other things.
Classic.
Like animating God back in the day.
Yeah, that's surprising. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I don't think he had his hand in this game, but he did in the series.
Gameplay.
Baby's first platformer.
No.
Yes.
So we all agree.
Yes.
For sure,
it is a kid's game, but it's not like a toddler's game.
But those don't exist. Well, that Barney game
Hold
that
on,
we played.
They surely do.
Wait,
toddlers don't exist.
Yeah, toddlers are a myth.
What didn't you hear?
You heard it here first, folks.
That Barney game we played, we kept saying that was for literal babies, but I don't really believe that. As soon as they can walk and hold something and press buttons like mindlessly, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And sure, that's their first platformer.
As Nolan mentioned, you are selecting one of the 4 playable characters. Littlefoot. Ooh, can we do this? I don't have it written down, so this will be interesting, our dinosaur knowledge. Littlefoot is a long neck, which is actually a what? Brachiosaurus?
Brachiosaurus, I'm guessing.
Or a Brontosaurus?
What's
one of the two?
No. Let our community get mad at us. And
I mean, it could be either. That's what I'm saying.
Cera,
I don't know.
Cera is a 3-horned Triceratops.
She's a Triceratops.
Yes. Spike.
I don't know.
Special.
Is he an Ankylosaurus?
Ankly?
You might
that's
be
the
right.
one. I don't think he is.
No, that's the one with the
that's
tail.
like armored and with the tail that swings around and hits. That was my favorite one.
Let's
as a
say that
kid.
he's
That's
a
the only
baby
reason I know
that.
it.
We're wrong about Littlefoot already.
How? It's either brachio or brontio.
You've never said this word in your life or read it.
Say it.
Apatosaurus.
Yeah, I never said that before.
No, that's not real.
Okay,
it's
and
real.
Then Ducky, precious little baby. I have no idea what Ducky's supposed to be.
No.
It's not a velociraptor.
It's the one that they headbutt each other.
Oh, that have weird shaped skulls.
Is it?
I think so.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's called. Oh wait, it's labeled as disputed on the wiki, so people don't agree. Antosaurus, Paracephalus, and Socrates.
Socrates is that's what I was gonna say.
So that's science, first of all. So the game teaches you science.
We haven't mentioned yet, but I don't want to neglect Petrie, who is a pterodactyl, baby pterodactyl.
Easy.
Petrie's not playable. We'll get to Petrie in a bit, but you're choosing one of these 4 dinosaurs: Littlefoot, Cera, Spike, or Ducky, and you are basically doing the same thing. We'll talk about the nuances, but you're going in. You've got 5 stages for each of them, and they are light platforming / light puzzle solving.
Collecting.
Well, but the collecting there's really nothing to that. It's all about just colors on a screen for babies. But you
might need the extra lives you earn by picking up a bunch of flowers.
You shouldn't, Kitty.
Don't shake your head at me. No.
Please tell me you got a game over.
We'll talk about our gameplay experience at some point a little more in depth.
So those collectibles are tree stars. That's what they call them in the movies, but they're leaves. And if you get a certain amount of them, you get a 1-up. But you're solving simple puzzles. So you're knocking down a tree that becomes a bridge that you can walk over from one platform to the next. You're carrying seeds of the same color to plants of their respective colors. And you're lightly platforming across water or oil or lava, and you do that 5 times each for each of the characters. And
some other unique puzzling moments. You had the memory game with Cera.
Right. Said we'd talk about the nuances later, and we will do that right now.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm nuancing you actively.
Yes, Cera has a slightly different. For some reason, they decided her stages would be slightly different. So you've got a memory game, and you on the first one.
I mean, they're all a little different from each other. None of them are the same.
You're really fighting me on this, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they made a completely. They're all similar in what you do relatively, but like none of the levels are the same. It's a complete different adventure for each one.
It's more stages than I expected from this game. I'll say that much, but to not call
20
them
total stages.
They're not different.
Yeah, this
though.
guy is what's going
They're
on?
not.
They are completely different.
Can you please, Eosaurus, just shut up for just a little bit as we talk
They're
about
not diff.
They're objectively unique stages to each of them.
They look different, maybe.
The only difference are Cera's memory game stages, which I was about to explain. You step into the middle.
It's not the same levels. You may be platforming in all of them, but you're not going to say that Mario is the same level 8 times over just because all of them
you did
involve
not
the
just
same
compare
mechanics.
this to Mario. First of
He
all,
did.
Second of all,
every single level is different from each other and from the other characters. That's like objective fact. I don't know why you're disputing it.
So they're very
similar.
You loaded up the next stage each time, and we're like, "Whoa, variety, baby! This is crazy."
I don't think
Mario!
there's a ton of variety. It's very, very similar gameplay, but all of the levels are different.
He's just This is a technicality, Dustin. You just have to say, "Yeah, sure." That's what you have to say.
I don't want to.
You have to.
Can I tell about Cera's memory
No,
game? Or
I don't
want to
know
way
about-
past that.
You can. No, you can talk about it.
Okay, like in StarCraft, you've got logs on each 4 logs that are surrounding Cera, and they flash. And you're supposed to press on the on the controller the same buttons in the order that the memory happens, or that the flashes happen, whatever, and it happens multiple times. You just play it. Once is with logs, the next is with like crystals, and the next, it's the same game, but that one is fundamentally different. While we all agree that the rest of the stages are all basically the same.
For the PoE people, it's like the Maven memory game boss fight.
Good. We're really
sure.
There's a big crossover between PoE and
well, apparently it's like Mario as well. Don't forget that.
Right.
So, okay, having different characters is welcomed, but like we've already said, it doesn't matter though. It's just simply visual. Oh, that's my favorite character from the show, from the movie, right? Which is fine because, again, know the audience here, and the stages are very short and very simple. I'm a little disappointed that they went the 3D platformer route. I mean, that was like the hot genre for 3D consoles. And so they probably thought that was the obvious pick. For me, I'm feeling like do an edutainment game. The memory thing was probably the better part of this for me.
There are a bunch of edutainment Land Before Time titles. So if you want those, Nolan, they are available to you.
I don't want them. I just think it's a smarter move here than to do a 3D platformer because
it makes more sense.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just it fits, but it ends up being the most empty game possible.
It's light, but like you guys said, it's a kid's game. This is not baby's first game, but it's like kids' early introduction to platforming.
One of the things that these developers were attempting to do was to create a game that didn't involve fighting. They succeeded in creating a game that didn't have fighting. And I like the idea. I don't think every game needs fighting, particularly when you're coming up with a game for kids. And
you say that, but I punched some things.
You headbutted?
Just like in real life out of frustration.
Oh, okay. What? Wait. Specifically,
I'm so
where?
confused at Kenny's experience with this game. Okay,
so
what game did you play this week?
So you got stuck on the Great Valley.
Yeah, let me just talk. Let me talk about my gameplay experience.
Let's just sit back,
slightly different from y'all's.
and give you the microphone.
I played originally as Spike, so I didn't have context from sort of a bunch of other characters.
Okay.
Breezed through his first 2 levels because they're not hard in the work.
Which you would pick Spike, and I'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely, I would. Yeah, and I'll accept it as high praise. And then got to a level that has some of the most obnoxious, mechanically gimmicky platforming of any game we've ever played ever. You're walking on you're walking on that tiny little branch with those stupid leaves that have a hitbox that's this big when they look this big, and you're supposed to be getting back and forth and across stuff, and you don't have a good camera angle, and you're trying to line yourself up. I fell off that thing more times than I had lives at that point in the game, and literally got a reset. Came back to it, and then got frustrated because the flying leaves aren't clear at all either.
So that's on record. Kenny got a game over.
This game beat me
in this game.
I don't think it would have been possible with any other character or in any other level progression, but that level specifically kicked my butt. Kids game.
Okay.
I got mad.
Lot to unpack. Number 1. You should have had 1,000,000 lives because the game puts those freaking flowers everywhere.
Those flowers are everywhere.
And they take up the entire screen in their animation and give you a new life. Okay?
Yeah, but I wasn't chasing flowers.
Can we please? They're not flowers.
Levels. World tree.
They're star flowers.
What do we call them? Star life.
Tree stars.
See, we were right enough.
I don't want to say much because I'll get in trouble for online bullying, but I cannot believe that you got a game over.
I can't either.
Game.
That is actually.
I used save states to get through that level.
Oh,
the rest of the game was fine.
Dustin,
that specific level.
This is crazy.
He used save states.
You can't. Did you actually play through a Spike?
I played through.
I played through every single character
in 5 minutes.
I'll acknowledge one tiny thing, but I will not give you any credit.
That level was annoying.
Will you let me acknowledge?
Acknowledge.
That level is the most difficult or nonsensical out of all of them.
Absolutely.
However, I had 10 to 20 lives by the time I'm playing that stage. That it's not like you can still do it. Again, it's a game for babies. It's a game for kids, and you should not have a game over.
I went in with 4, and that's not an unreasonable amount of time to fall off that stupid log into the water and get mad at Petrie, even though I love him.
Literally had 20.
For his annoying voiceovers.
Every time you come back, all of the tree stars are back again. So
it's like you didn't
never have an excuse.
I was at the start of that level. There's no tree stars.
He also said
there.
he doesn't collect them. He said he doesn't care.
Yeah, I wasn't going around collectathoning. I was powering through. This is like a simple game. I'm like,
no, it's not. You had a game over.
And I did have a game over.
My goodness.
Regardless,
wow, I'm never letting you live that down.
That piece highlights some things about the game that I don't feel like they did super well. The footprint of things you were shooting for isn't always super clear in terms of like size and where you can stand and where you can't. A lot of platforms that you feel like you can get to an edge on and then you like fall off or something because they're weird shaped. Kind of hard to control your camera, and your movement is janky.
Oh, let's be clear. It's not good platforming at all.
Your runs, like you run and then try and jump, and there's a delay.
It's
so if you're trying to do a normal run to the edge and jump like you would in a normal platform, you're going to just run off the platform before your jump button hits. You got to like jump and then float yourself forward. All sorts of really, really obnoxious mechanical issues with the game.
One of the things they do give you, though, that I do think helps in this game is a nice shadow under your character that allows you to know where you're going to be landing, whether it's on a leaf or a log or a platform. And so I think that's at least helpful. They're trying to do something, but I do agree. Movement, stiff, unexpected jumps. But please, I need to emphasize how this is the lightest platforming. This is not any kind of difficult platforming that you've ever faced before. You might have to platform 3 times on a given stage. You are it's
honestly
not.
It's maybe more difficult platforming because it's so stripped down. There in most platformers you're fighting at the same time, shooting, hitting, and so like maybe you have muscle memory and you're too good for it.
Yeah. It's the combination of the way the mechanics work and the platform that make it at moments more difficult than it should be. They weren't going for a difficult game, and I'm not trying to say it's hard. Most of this game you're just going to completely breeze through. But there are moments that are like weirdly annoying, and they annoyed me.
I was annoyed too, brother. Don't worry.
Unfortunately, there's no ending. I played through each of the characters, and they have a little cutscene at the end that is virtually the same between each one, just a different voice line. And it's them coming up to the Great Valley. They've arrived back.
Right. They made it.
Petrie's flying around, and you get that kind of cutscene at the end of each of the 5 stages. But after beating all of those, you don't get any reuniting of the group.
No, right, and just rolls credits.
It's kind of stark that you don't, because the beginning of the game you get so much. I thought the game was going to be majority watching FMVs.
Yep.
And you don't. The fact that they don't give closure, like I feel like even a kid, even a baby would be like, "What gives?" Like,
no, it needed to be 30 seconds of them all running up and greeting each other. And then the credits roll, and they run around and play in the Great Valley and like go hang out with their family, and everything's happy. And the game would have felt way more satisfying to finish.
And then post-credit scene when Samuel L. Jackson shows up and recruits one of them for the Dinosaur Avengers.
New Game Plus mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a new threat, Spike. Oh my god, that's so funny.
No ending was upsetting. After it's not a big time sink or investment. Within an hour, if you're not Kenny, you should be able to breeze through these. Kenny, you'll get a few game overs throughout, and it might take 2 hours.
Speaking of the guy that flies around, Petrie.
Yes, good.
Okay.
Yes, but
So
you did it to yourself.
No,
Yes.
I didn't. The game did it to me. And you don't get to play as him, but he's your Navi from Ocarina of Time, flying around with you, giving you hints.
You can. Does he turn off though at higher difficulty levels?
Nolan did something that baffled me in his first play. It's not what he normally does, but he went in and chose easy as the
I
mode
thought that was
he was
default.
playing on.
Easy is the default mode.
Yeah.
Normal is not the default
No,
mode, guys?
default is what
No,
it pre-selects.
It defaults to
But
easy.
still,
That's why I didn't change
And
it.
then you have to move it to medium or hard.
I thought
and
Nolan
he just did
moved
it because it was pre-selected.
By the
but
way,
it's still weird because Nolan doesn't play games on easy.
I play games intended first time through. I play as intended, which is whatever they pick for me.
Okay.
Whatever the default
Well, I
is.
did not
Yeah,
play on easy.
I can
yeah.
respect that.
Good.
Yes.
You are right to do so. Because on easy, Petrie just won't shut up, dude.
Right.
It's saying these same two lines,
Yes,
and you're like,
over
I
and
understand
over
what to do.
and
It's not
over.
listening to me.
Yeah. So if you're not tracking, Petrie is his involvement is based on the difficulty level set. If it's on hard, nothing in the game changes other than Petrie's not there as
Okay,
often
that's what
to
my
give you
question
hints.
was. That's it?
That's it. On the normal difficulty, he's there if you're like taking a little bit of time, and on easy, he's there every step of the way.
Wow. guiding
So the
every single thing
difficulty
you
in
do.
this game is tied to how annoying your helper is. Wow.
How present. I think that's not a bad way to toggle
It's fine for
difficulty for,
babies,
a
yes.
kid's game, but the Petrie is annoying, which he kind of is in the movie.
It's still a little bit of a cop-out to just sort of say how much hand-holding you're doing. You could have added a few more jumps or like a
Not
harder
for you.
level
Come
of your
on, Kenny.
puzzles or something.
What difficulty were you
If
playing
you'd want-
on?
I don't want to talk about it.
Easy?
Yeah, we just said it's the same mode no matter what you're on.
Still
It wouldn't
funny,
matter.
though. It's still funny.
Petrie was bugging me though. So yeah.
I would have thought hard mode would take out some of the leaves so that you're getting fewer lives.
Right, but no.
Right,
Okay.
or like your character's only got 3 legs or something. Like there's ways to make it
Not
better.
that.
One gets a bit off and it's bleeding the whole time you have to get to the hospital.
Right. Okay. I told you guys I've been looking in this video game magazine database when we've been playing games recently to see if there are any guides or reviews. There was one review in one magazine in or around the year 2000 for this game. It was in
Vogue?
the official US PlayStation magazine issue 39, and it reads as follows. It's a short review. Being a fan of The Land Before Time, our 4-year-old critic really liked the extended cutscenes driving the plot. She also liked the fact that you could play as a lot of different characters from the films. Unfortunately, while she enjoyed wandering around and picking up tree stars, the 3D engine was just too hard for her in areas with jumping elements and places where she needed to line her character up precisely with objects in the world.
Reading
too.
that after Kenny's retelling of his gameplay. Oh my god.
It's so true. I love that they had their kid actually play it though, because that's telling. That's the audience here. And so I think sometimes we're just bad at objectively talking about kids' games and like expecting more out of them than they're supposed to be. This one wanted to just be a kids' game.
Aged.
I wish this one felt more relevant.
Relevant.
Because I love Land Before Time. It was a childhood staple. And especially with nostalgia kind of stuff, it's sad to see a new generation have new content come in and then be familiar with it. Like, I get it. These days your kids are watching Bluey. And I can't blame you.
What is that?
Top notch.
Dude, Bluey is amazing.
Nolan has...
But also,
Yeah, Bluey's awesome.
But also, Bluey, I think that's a little bit past at this point.
Yeah, it is. But I'm just, like,
Peppa Pig.
doing a popular kids content.
Peppa Pig's way old.
What?
It is.
Okay,
Guys.
who's
Yeah,
Bluey?
Nolan has not been around
Bluey
a
is an
child
adorable.
ever in his life.
Are they dogs? She is an adorable dog with a family. It's so cute. That's a really good one. I don't know, but let's move on from Bluey.
Anyways, yeah, we won't talk about Bluey because it's great. But Land Before Time isn't still a thing, is all I'm trying to say. It used to be. Some franchises like will stay going. You know, like Pokemon was popular when we're kids. They're still popular today. Like Land Before Time is dead. And that's a knock against it. Yeah, it's gone extinct.
Prehistoric.
as a
Paleozoic.
as a IP for how well it's aged, because even if you have a kid today that wants to play it, they're going to be like, oh, cute characters, but they're not going to be attached to Littlefoot and Cera and Spike and Ducky like they should, because this is not part of their life.
They're going to remake this movie for sure.
Live action.
In live action?
No, just, well, maybe, honestly, after the Lion King thing, they will, for sure, because people will, like, freak out.
I do agree, Kenny. However, I do think dinosaurs are never going out of style. I think dinosaurs are always a cool thing for kids.
Kid-friendly, yeah.
And
that's fair.
It's funny that dinosaurs have become kid-friendly, but because I don't know if they would be in real life. But so I do think there's that a kid could come and play a game with dinosaurs, and it's got dinosaurs. So that's cool enough, you know? But yes, you are missing the connection for most people that are playing this game, kids at least, that they don't know the actual characters.
Right.
Which I kind of feel sad about for Nolan's sake this week, because his first experience with this somewhat beautiful but tainted franchise is this video game, because the original I haven't watched it in a long time, so I don't know how it's aged, but had so much charm and life, and like it is for kids, but it's also like something, you know how like we can enjoy like Lion King and stuff like that, like that first one,
iconic voice acting in that first one, and each of those characters, and then they come on, and I think one person did all the voices for this, and tried to make them sound like the original characters, but you could tell it wasn't. Oh, it just broke my heart a little bit.
I don't want to besmirch her character, because the voice actor that did every single one of these voices is like a big name in the voice acting community.
It's hard to do that variety and sell.
No.
For sure.
She did terrible. But I want to make it clear that I'm not giving her any credit for this game. She did absolutely awful. But she is not an awful voice actor. She played Adria the Witch and Wirt the Peg Leg Boy in a game called Diablo. She played the dropship pilot in a game called StarCraft. She played Nancy Drew in almost all of the Nancy Drew games.
Okay, so
she's literally my favorite voice actress of all time.
She played Rouge the Bat in the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Is it Rouge or Rogue? It's Rouge, right?
It's Rouge.
She played Bloodraven and the Countess and Dariel and Mala and the Ancients in Diablo 2. She played like all over, guys. She is the GOAT.
So the problem is with the developers or the publishers being like, we're saving money, one voice actor is all we need, you're talented, do all of them. And she's like, I mean, I guess.
And do them and like try and make them sound like the original voice actors.
That's hard.
Instead of like doing something original. I don't know. I'm with you. I wasn't feeling it, but I'm so hyped about her career. I'm glad you brought all that.
Nolan, I can't overstate how much the voices were a part of the characters that developed those dinosaurs in the movie. Right. Ducky, the cutest, sweetest voice. Petrie was this annoying thing, but like so iconic.
Yeah. Watching the first play, I was literally screaming at the screen. I was like, Nolan, you have to listen to the real characters. This is not what they sound like.
But see, am I going to now? I don't know.
Probably not, because of this game, but you shouldn't let it stop you. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a kid.
Yeah, but you know that kid movies are not all just for kids.
Sure, but it will certainly not mean as much to me as it does to you.
No, I would not necessarily encourage you to do it, unless you said your wife had an attachment with it, sitting down and watching with her.
Yeah, I would.
That could be something.
Sure.
You might get some nostalgia brownie points.
I've already done this, but I just want to continue because I think that we would all... Professor Layton, she played Luke, the boy, in all of the Professor Layton games. No, she played Pit, Lucas, and Lynn in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. She played Lucas in the Mother 3 fan translation. She did the Lucas voice acting. Wait, I didn't even... What? That's what it says here. She played a ton of characters in new Super Mario Bros. Wii. I know we're over this, but she played a lot of characters in Skyrim, including the Night Mother, and there's just so many names there.
So she's an institution of gaming voice acting, for sure.
she just, if you say a woman, she did clickers and runners and bloaters in The Last of Us.
Oh, like, whoa, even technical
literally,
stuff.
You're talking top
She's
notch.
the top of her game. And yeah.
Then this makes me extra sad because I didn't buy it.
Right, because it is absolutely
She put this at
awful.
the bottom of her resume though.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't. It's not the first thing on her resume. I'll stop. But there are countless credits to her voice acting, just not here.
Well, shout out, but this was not it.
Graphically, y'all, I have questions for y'all, but first of all, I do want to say it's very adequately like children. It's very bright and colorful and soft.
It's simple.
Which I think effective for the
works
audience. Fine, yeah.
For what you're doing.
However, are the character models even close? Like, what are we talking?
They're relatively close. You've got a little bit of that PlayStation jank and some things that they couldn't pull off with like weird movements and mouths and things that was kind of uncanny valley. If you saw the characters in the show, you'd recognize them, but you'd also be like, that's 1,000 times cuter and less uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally different animation style. Obviously 2D to 3D is a big thing.
Right.
Yes.
So you'd recognize them. It's not like they completely missed it.
Recognizable.
But
I'm linking this to what we said about the voice acting. I think so much of the charm of the original is with the animation also, and you don't have that here. And the in stage, I think it works fine controlling those FMV cutscenes. It's good that they're there, but they just look goofy, uncanny valley-esque. However, someone that is younger and doesn't have a connection to it. So this actually happened this week. I was starting up the game when I got a FaceTime from my brother, and he's got two young kids right now, and the 3-year-old boy loves dinosaurs, right? Obviously, 3-year-old boy. So I turned the camera around and started the game, and he was glued to the phone screen that was glued to the screen of the television that was playing the cutscenes.
Oh, he didn't care.
It worked for Kobe,
Sure.
but it's you looking back at it, especially with the critical eye today, especially knowing the original animation, it's not going to
harsh. Yeah, it's harsh.
The music, I think, is not bad.
I'll take it a step further. I thought it was good.
Really?
Nolan, it's not bad.
Did.
It worked. I think it works really well for the game that it's in. It's generic.
It's got a kind of cinematic feel. It's a little generic. There's definitely moments where like little pieces of the tune would take me to other more like well-known songs. Literally, I think I walked away like singing Home Alone theme song at one point and like some other things where it's not the same, but it just like reminded me of it. But yeah, it's got a weird cinematic feel. It did some kind of kiddish sorts of things. You could tell it was a kid audience, but I don't know. I thought they killed it for what they were trying to do with music.
It's not something I'd listen to just for fun.
I know. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
There are 14 games based on
How many?
the series. 14.
No.
There's 14 movies, so I think each one may have gotten a game. I don't know.
I don't think it was 1-to-1.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I do think almost half of those are edutainment, Nolan. You had asked
as they should be.
Like, why is this not edutainment? And I was like, oh, they exist.
Yeah. The first one was the Land Before Time Activity Center, edutainment.
Yeah, for sure.
And the most recent, it concluded with the Land Before Time Into the Mysterious Beyond, which released in 2006 for the GBA.
Oh.
Yeah,
no.
You might actually love that game, Dustin.
No, for the
GBA title.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I guess
I hope it's not on the
list.
It is now. If it's not.
What's interesting is that there's actually two Great Valley centric games. It's this one, the one that we played, and there's one. Love this. That's on our Retro Master list called The Land Before Time Great Valley Racing Adventure.
I could get behind a racing game. Galloping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. You have a Great Valley racing game, and then you reward yourself every time you win a track by like eating ranch dressing. You're going to be so happy.
You're banned. Dude.
You're banned.
I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah. What?
That's how I want to play that game.
Hidden Valley Ranch is a brand.
That was what he was going for?
That is what he was going for.
Valley references
Hidden
make me
Valley
want to eat ranch dressing.
is a ranch.
I want to like dip some veggies and crunch.
I can't.
If you want a copy of The Land Before Time, Return to the Great Valley for your PlayStation, why? And then secondly, actually some in our community have it or went and got it this week. I don't know what they were doing, but I saw a few discs. $7 used, loose, $7.
Not bad.
$20 new.
Also,
getting a brand new copy of Return to the Great Valley in 2023, that'd be a great
It'll
thing.
never be worth anything. Don't do it.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Kenny, big defender /
Brachiosaurus.
/ game over achievement on this kid's game.
No one's actually surprised by that.
What are your final thoughts?
They're also not surprised by the fact that I'm not giving this game New Game Plus. Let me clarify, though, that's not just because this is a kid's game. There are plenty of good kids games. Here was my sort of experience in a nutshell. This one started off with me worried and then had me kind of intrigued after watching the introduction scenes. I was like, okay, this could actually kind of work cool, all their own stories. Then it had me super worried again after watching Nolan's first play, because that's a vibe. Then I jumped in, and I was actually kind of vibing for those first 2 levels. Then I hit the wall of frustration that we already talked about that shouldn't exist in this type of game, because there's no excuse for me getting a game over. And then the game was never actually allowed to redeem itself, although it did try. This game is fine, if generally uninspired as a kid's game, that is really only ruined by the actual mechanics and the platforming. If it was tighter controls, everything else works well enough for me that for a kid's game, I probably would have said, cool, go for it. But, nah, your kids don't have the dexterity to do this successfully.
Do they have the strength or intelligence?
They do have both of those.
Grown adults apparently don't have the dexterity either.
Yeah, true enough. No New Game Plus.
Playing as the beloved dinosaurs in a play box-like environment that's safe, without enemies, along with minimal platforming and puzzles, all done for kids, is not a bad idea. In fact, I think that's a great idea for kids.
Great idea.
If you can go into a world that's relatively safe and be a dinosaur, especially a dinosaur from a franchise that was booming, but maybe not yet at that time anymore. I think that's probably a big thing about it. That is great. The implementation here, however, is what's not great. And I mean, Kenny, you said great if it wasn't, or it could be something if it wasn't for the platforming and the handling, or the platforming and the mechanics, whatever you said. Yes, which is the game. And so like that's what you're doing in the game. So I think it's I'm not going as far as Kenny. I think it's almost there. If you could have had better handling, even with the sketchy FMV, graphics and 3D, all of that wonkiness during this time, I think there could have been something there. There is not, though, and this is not a good game, nor is it a good game for kids. So no New Game Plus status for me.
I think the review that you brought to us from that magazine is actually brilliant.
Yeah.
The fact that they did that's a clever article, but also completely accurate and represents this well, because, and you've both mentioned it some, I'm not upset with this. Kids games are great. I think kids should be able to enjoy video games, and even sometimes like a good challenge or whatever, but sometimes they just need to be there to play. And what they went for here, I think, was too in line with what was popular at the time with 3D platforming on the system. And it didn't need to be that. And if it was going to be that, it needed to be like fail proof. You can't game over, right? You can't fall, because no one in between is playing this. It's either very, very young kids that want to see the characters, or it's grown men revisiting it for a podcast and doesn't work, right? Because there's just no, and this is a weird in-between spot where there's like some technical platforming required that for us is fine, but for a kid is not. Even she even said it in the The 4-year-old said it in the article. So absolutely not. Maybe some of the other edutainment games are good in the series, but don't play this one.
That means that The Land Before Time Return to the Great Valley is not New Game Plus certified. But what did you think on our YouTube poll? 8% said, yes, it's worth playing today, and they are 5-year-old kids. 14% said no, go play something else, and unsurprisingly, 78% have never touched this game before. Many of you wrote in. Here are a few of your thoughts. Team Babo said, just don't play this one. It's pretty generic and doesn't control that well at all. I might be willing to cut it some slack if it came out in the NES era, but we had Tomb Raider and Spyro. To its credit, it does have new mechanics for each set of levels, but that still doesn't make it worth playing. No NGP.
Interesting. 2D, a 2D version of this game would be very different, and makes me think of Lion King and how challenging that game can actually be. That game is not a kid's game, but it's about kids.
Aladdin, that game can also be very challenging. But those
are real platformers.
Those are for older kids or young teenagers, you know, I think primarily. But
Land Before Time content's very, very young. Like, there's,
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Clint said, you know what else released in 2000 on the PS1? Final Fantasy IX.
I mean, okay. Yeah,
I know. Not an apt comparison.
But I kind of like the juxtaposition, though. When we're playing retro, sometimes you can pull yourself out of where they go. Like, what else is relative at the same time in terms of what a console can do. And yes, it was a kid's game, but did not do the PlayStation any favors.
Garlisle said, baby's first 3D platformer. Is there really much more worth saying? I know there's not much worth me playing.
Accurate. No.
Harold said, a simplistic, though effective yet monotonous design drapes the inelastic sensation of the configured controls. Don't know what that sentence is all about.
Delete that.
The experience one has in the fleeting moments that makes up the shallow gameplay of this minuscule event is hardly worthy of the time it took me to ponder upon these wordings. Only a slightly sadistic parent would knowingly and intentionally punish its child with the disappointment this media would bring to a fan of the original intellectual property. The voice acting wasn't bad, though.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
You just hit your brother. Go to the room. Go to your room. You can come out when I see the credits roll.
Nice. All right, one last one. Way Out Gaming said, "Okay, I'm pretty sure I was the one that added this to the retro master list."
Okay, I was wondering who did this.
This was one of 3 games I owned for my original PS1. The other 2 games being All-Star Racing and Action Bass, if it's a fishing game.
You had a PlayStation in those 3 games.
Right!
I'm so sorry. That's
All 3 games were clearly budget title garbage, but I didn't care. I know this is a baby game, and there's no denying it. Playing it now makes me nostalgic, but it can be beaten in an hour without saving. The controls aren't great, and the levels are stupidly basic. I don't expect this to get NGP this week, and that's fine. But for a kid whose favorite character was a baby long neck and was terrible at 3D platformers, because they were still new, this was a fun game. It offered enough challenge without being impossible for a 7-year-old to beat, and I think that's what's key here. This is a crappy kids game, but it is a fun crappy kids game.
I love that.
I don't. This is a straight to VHS game,
which was all the rage.
Right, well, watch a straight to VHS movie because it's all they have, and still it'll have a special place in their heart.
This is when it was starting to turn, though.
The special place games have in people's heart.
I own 3 VHSs. I think one of them was the Land Before Time. I think one of them was Lion King, and I think the third was Flubber.
Oh, heck yeah. I had Flubber. Dude, I had so many VHSs.
You had a pretty good lineup.
Those 3?
I had like 25.
All right, for now, we are setting aside the Land Before Time Return to the Great Valley, and we are not randomly selecting. In fact, we don't even have a game for you to play this week.
Wait, what?
It's true.
Is that a first?
It's a unique week, and we're not doing ourselves any favors by pointing out that we're not playing a game. I know it's going to make some of you sad, but there's a really good reason.
But also, guess what? You can play games. It's totally up to you.
No, you're not allowed to touch the controller.
You meant to finish and
as an NGP community, we always take this week and we fast games so that we can kind of like just palate cleanse.
If you touch the controller, we'll know.
We will know.
It's our retro game detox. No, the reason we're not is because next week is a big deal. We are celebrating our 8-year anniversary.
Woo!
Boom.
Episode 400. We got some really fun stuff lined up. We're going to hear from some community members, all kinds of really kind of hype content, and can't wait to share that with you next week. So play a game of your choice. Come back ready for the next year.
And what you can do this week, instead of playing a game, drop in our Discord. I know we're going to talk about that here just momentarily, but what if you dropped in and let us know on the Game of the Week channel one of your favorite NGP memories? It might be from It might be from an episode. It might be from a game that you played along. It might be, I don't know. It could be anything but NGP related. But let's get some nostalgia brewing this week in the Game of the Week channel on our Discord.
What if you did that? And what if one of you would get selected to win a thank you from one of us?
Ooh, a thank you. Thank you. What a good prize. Nolan, I know I took that moment, but where can they find the Discord link?
The Discord can be found at discord.gg/newgameplus. Easy.
Join us
while you're typing URLs into your browser. Also hit up patreon.com/NGP podcast, where you can support our show on an ongoing basis. You'll be joining folks like Alex H., who joined us as a patron for the first time this week. Welcome. You'll also be joining folks like Smashing Bricks Retro Gaming Podcast, who has upped their support to a producer level and continues to milk free advertising via our shoutouts.
Kenny!
And it's clear, but all right. We also want to say a huge thank you to our director level supporters, Brojim, Garlisle, Super Hypered, Miss Muso, and Siegfried. You guys truly go above and beyond. You're not kids' games. You're our games. And of course, to our large growing list of producer level supporters, including Adam, Alex, Marlene, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, Hallex, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Glenn, Knick-Knack, Corey, Levi, Maxima, Megatroid, Nolan's Old Mustache, Not Enough Dog, Pedro, Sajin, Shane, Shauna, Psycho Mantis, Thomas Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion. You guys are everything to us.
Kenny and Nolan both have something representing the hair that they've grown, and so I'm looking forward to someone coming and supporting us on Patreon that is a shout out to the hair that I've grown.
Okay. That is wildly uncomfortable.
You can follow us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week for our 8-year anniversary, episode 400. Until then, I'm still Littlefoot.
I'm still Spike.
Ducky.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. You're also dead. I'll tell you about that later. And this has been New Game Plus.